Hey, Union Church. I am here with my good friend Israel Martinez, who is a church planter in Irving, Texas. Israel and I got to know each other through our training time at the Village Church. And Israel, give us just a little thumbnail sketch of who you are, your family, and your church.
Yeah, my name is Israel Martinez. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Church Irving. And so when I introduce myself, I say I was born in Germany, obviously, lived in a bunch of places. My dad is a military officer, and we lived in a bunch of different countries, Panama, Venezuela, different states. And then we landed in Texas, and I became Texan. Pick up Ethan always makes fun of the way I say hymns. I think I say it normal, but he makes fun of me. So, and then we kind of lived in an African American town, in a middle class town, in a white church. People always think I'm Indian or Middle Eastern, but I'm Puerto Rican, not Mexican. So, anyways, all that to say, that's kind of what we're doing in Irving. Irving has one of the most ethnically diverse zip codes in the US. And we have some time and space. I used to teach here, got married here at another church, and we left and went to tried to go anywhere else other than DFW, Dallas, and then the Lord just kind of called us back. So Irving is right in Dallas County, and so yeah, that's the quick version of kind of some of my story of one of this kind of otherness and I guess ethnic confusion, and the Lord has brought that together, which was a vice. I hated it as a kid. I hated being brown and being part of different groups. But what has become a virtue now, and just able to connect with so many kinds of people, and that's kind of what we're doing here in Irving. So
Yeah, I love that. And you really, that's the vision for your church. And it's what I've gotten to see you put into practice just in your family as you practice hospitality. Like one of my first memories of you is Dana and I coming to DFW to look for housing and kind of get our feet wet in the area. And you put us up for the night and were really generous to us. Hospitality, I've always known is a big value in your home,
yeah.
which is kind of why I wanted to talk with you today, because we're talking with our go groups at Union Church about what some people call Matthew parties, and I know you call them gospel parties, which have been a big part of even the ramping up for you of planting Redeemer Irving, and I know are part of your rhythms as a church now. Just before we started recording, we were also talking about how in your church you have a rhythm of kind of prayer walking, which you call prayer in the city, and then gospel parties. So maybe you could kind of lay out your rhythm for outreach real quickly, and then take us deep into what a gospel party is and explain that to me like I've never heard it before.
For sure. Yeah. So we have four main rhythms as a church, and it all hopefully works together based on our vision to love God, love people, make disciples of all nations for God's glory. So we want to be, that's our mission. That's who we are. And so in doing that, we have these rhythms that help us live out what we call understanding and living out the gospel, which is our mission, which what is the great commandment and the great commission for God's glory. And so again, we have our Sunday gathering. And so that's where we're going to get the teaching and set the tone and hopefully set some evangelistic seeds and just seeds of knowing the gospel and loving Jesus. And then we have what we call disciple groups. So not discipleship groups, but disciple groups, learner groups, followers of Jesus groups, you could say. And those are every other week. And so that again catalyzes that. We talk about gospel partnership or membership and mission, and kind of that's another level of depth of catalyzing us to kind of internalize what it means to make disciples. So it's interesting, in the Bible, it talks about sometimes you think of discipleship and evangelism as two different things, but those words don't exist in the Bible. There's no discipleship, there's no evangelism, there is just gospel and making disciples. And so Jesus said to make disciples. So evangelism and discipleship are two sides of the same coin. And so that's the linchpin of our mission statement: love God, love people, make disciples of all nations for God's glory. So that's the basic thing Jesus said, is to make learners or make disciples. So we want to do that here and get the gospel in people's hearts, and that it becomes the gospel on their lips. So then we do these two other rhythms that Ethan mentioned: prayer in the city and gospel parties. And so we do these, we do one of these a month. So you think of 12 months, we'll have 6 gospel parties and 6 prayer in the cities. That way, Dallas is a busy place. It's hard to even put on that many things. And so the prayer in the city, again, is the gospel party actually comes in first, and then the prayer in the city. And so I'll explain just the basis of these, and get into gospel party more. So gospel party is just a rhythm where we throw parties. We use 4th of July, we use Cinco de Mayo, we use Christmas, we use Thanksgiving, those kind of normal rhythms, Super Bowl. There's a big sports event, playoff game or something, just any kind of party to have people over, an excuse to have. We have a neighborhood Facebook group and we invite our neighbors. And so we've had over 90 people at some of these fall festival or Halloween one we've done as well.
Okay.
And sometimes that Halloween, the fall festival one is a little more. We have some stuff for the kids, and it's a little more, I would say, organized. The rest are just show up, eat food. We get good food. We have the church spend money on that, and then we just connect with people, whoever comes, neighbors, friends. So it's a win for our people, and that our people get to connect with them, with each other, and grow as gospel partners. We call our members gospel partners or covenant partners. And then it's also like I would say, kind of easy evangelism. Just get to know people, get to their phone numbers, stuff like that. And so that's the basis of these gospel parties. And then we conjoin that with prayer in the city, which is we put it on our website. We have like a little link that has organized prayer, and we sing a song in public. We go to a place in Irving. Irving has some walkable places, and we just go. That takes like 8 to 10 minutes, and then we prayer walk. We literally release our groups and they walk. And then we just say, now pray to the Spirit to hopefully engage and talk to people and see if the Lord will use that to have you connect with someone. And then we say, go eat or break bread with your waiter or waitress and bless the mess out of them, give them a big tip, and then pray with them, ask them to pray, and then leave something on their receipt, like a church website, your name, some Bible verses, stuff like that. So those are just the main building blocks of what we do. And then that kind of sets up breaking down gospel party more. So
man, I feel like I could take a deep dive on any of those because you've thought so thoroughly through the rhythms of your church. And I love that, Israel. What I'm hearing you say about gospel parties, number one, they're just a low pressure party that you're inviting people from church to, but also people from your neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And really so you're not like packing up, gospel tracts in your pocket to pass out at this party, right? Just building relationships.
Yeah, it's like I think that is could be scarier or more not effective. Like that's not. We call it a gospel party. That's more internal language. We don't put that on our website. We just say like Cinco de Mayo party or 4th of July party or that or Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
But the gospel party is what hopefully the Lord is doing in our people as they come, that they know there's a little bit of expectation of just not like, you don't have to share the gospel. You don't have to give the Romans road. You don't have to share a tract or have this. The goal is to have the gospel on your lips. So what you know about Jesus and how he's affected your life, just having those simple conversations. Hey, where are you from? Oh, you're from blah, blah, blah. Okay, what's your job? Oh, cool. Blah, blah, we go to this church. I've been a Christian. Oh, he's the pastor? I didn't know. Yeah, we actually go to the church that he leads. Oh, cool. So and a lot of our neighbors are from all over the world, and they're really educated people, but they don't have any framework for Christianity. And so that's what you're trying to do is just give them, that is helping what I call plant gospel seed, just giving them a little taste of what your salt and lightness, if we could say that, your saltiness and your lightiness of what Jesus said, you'll be salt and light in the world. He didn't say you have this pressure to give this dissertation about a revelation of himself initially. It's planting seed. And so that's kind of what we're doing, is just having conversations with people, and hope the hard or the deeper part is like getting comfortable with that person in that conversation to get a phone number. And now you've got a connection point. You can have them over to dinner at your house or go have coffee with them, and you start building a relationship with that person. And that's taking the pressure off the church necessarily and putting it on the individual or a group of people to now love someone and host them and show them, like John 13, that the world will know how we love Christ by how we love one another. And that's kind of the goal of these parties, is them to get a little taste of the salt and the light that Jesus says we should be. So
I love that. So for you, like a next step after a gospel party is to just, maybe meet somebody for coffee or something. Your goal is to build the relationship so that you can kind of like, guy who we both know, Pastor Matt Chandler, sometimes talks about plausibility structures, like people who are getting a picture of Christianity based on what they see in the media, but then they're meeting these people who
Yes.
don't look like the caricatured monsters that the media is trying to make us out to be. And they're like, oh, all of a sudden, these people don't seem like crazy people, and I wonder what they believe. And so you're building that foundation of relationships so that you might have the doors open to actually share the gospel someday, right?
Exactly. That's the goal, is to hopefully engage people's hearts. And it's not theology, it's to help them. Then they know, oh, those are those Christians, and they might hold to some different standards. They might believe in homosexuality, or transgender, or some of these bigger topics, but then they sense the Holy Spirit in you, and it starts to lower their guard to receive the gospel. So some people, you can give them all what you think is the gospel in that moment, some theology or some verses, and they're just not ready. They just need to see that you love them, and that you actually are a human. And so we do need to have the gospel and share it with our lips. I'm not saying that. I'm a very vocal person. So if there's some people out there that are very shy, I'm not talking about that. You need to be able to talk, and the gospel should flow from your soul. But sometimes we can get talker people want to get there first, or we're trying to check off a box.
Yeah.
Like, I talked to this person or that person. To me, like, we don't keep any stats on this. We do pray for the people. I think Ethan wants y'all to do that. I believe I keep a prayer list, and we do have a prayer list of people that we have prayed for. And honestly, guys, it's produced like minimal fruit, but the goal of this too isn't to just grow your church and make but it's really to be evangelistic and know that some of these relationships are going to take 10 years. So like my next door neighbor, he's just been a friend, and I think he's a believer, but he's just kind of unchurched. And we've lived in this house for 3 years, and his daughter comes over and plays. Like we everything that a good neighbor is supposed to do, we do for each other. But there hasn't been, like, he's not a member of our church. He's come to a few studies and stuff. So I think that's an expectation that just needs to be like, that's okay. The goal isn't to just have all these people flood to Union, and now you like, look at what we did. It could happen. The Lord could do that. Amen. But if it doesn't, it's still a worthy task. Like, it's still what you guys need to be doing in Brighton and in the surrounding areas, just making disciples, and know you're doing this for the long game. That person that you made a contact with in 2022 might never come to Union, or they might come to Union in 2032. And that's okay. That's what you're doing. It's like long-term evangelism.
Yeah, that's so important, because the work of the kingdom is bigger than growing either of our churches. I'm so grateful that you said that. So as we record this right now, we are coming up. I think the next holiday is the Independence Day, 4th of July. So I don't know if you're hosting a gospel party, but if you were, take me through, maybe I need to like bring in Candace your wife Candace, to take us through the practicals, but maybe not. Take us through, just if you were giving us a quick training on how to put on your first gospel party from beginning to end, what would that look like?
Yeah, so you want to be organized, but it doesn't have to be like super organized, where I always want to make these gospel parties like low pressure. So the one way to do that is, the main thing is the food, right? So we've delegated that. Some ladies take care of that at the church, and they make sure we have good food. So we've done like a Cinco de Mayo. That one we kind of had taco bar kind of thing, of all different kinds of stuff. And they prepped it, and it was all ready. You don't have people coming in bringing stuff, because that looks disorganized, and you want to have all that. I think the food. So we just spend money. We go and get whatever good of food, Middle Eastern food, something. It's not just Chick-fil-A, but man, all this Chick-fil-A at a house, it kind of blows people's mind. Yeah. So we want to spend, sometimes that's $300, $400. We've done $500 sometimes. That seems like a lot, but you want the food to be legit, because then the party will suck. And so, sorry, I don't know if
take that from two ethnic guys. We know that the food is important.
The food needs to be good. Okay. And so as long as that's taken care of, the logistics of that, then you can move to, like, I guess something that's more before this even is the planning. And so I think the plan is for you guys to throw your first party, so just pick an event and throw it. And it could be 4th of July, or it could be something else. So I know one thing logistically that was just hard for us on 4th of July. I don't know how to grill, and we have a few people that do. I bought a gas grill. We have a gas connection. So we were gonna throw our first like Fourth of July party with actually like Fourth of July food, like hot dogs and hamburgers, and have someone on the grill. I wasn't gonna be on the grill; that'd be bad. But have like that experience of like, hey, we're having hot dogs and bratwurst and hamburgers, So that's good. Like match the theme with. But what we decided, this is a side note, and it's interesting. Ethan asked me to do this this week because we are doing a Fourth of July gospel party, but we're doing it a little different. And this is where you can be creative. And I've been praying for opportunities to do this for 2 years, and nothing's really come up. But our Irving is a city of about 300,000 people, so they're doing a pretty decent size in this kind of new area, like 4 minutes from our house. They're calling it Stars and Stripes. Like they're doing the party. Okay. So what we're gonna do is just show up. Like our expectation for this usually has been someone's home, food, make sure the host has a clean, decent house. And if you have pets, you need to think of that. People have allergies, kids have allergies. Make sure the house is clean and like you're going to a hotel like that. Some people are like, oh, just come in, and that's fine. Like there's an expectation of not of hosting and being hospitable and being pretentious and trying to impress people. We're not doing it from that heart. But if you're doing it from the heart, if you went to a hotel and it was ghetto and there were stains on the wall and the bathrooms are nasty, like you may not want to come back to that hotel. So I think having an excellent standard that's a couple levels maybe above your own, and that's for every person to decide and every group to decide, but something to consider. And then just having the expectation to just talk to have an invitation plan. So that's in your Facebook group. So food, calendar prep, like making sure that you've secured that through your church calendar or through, if you use Slack, if you use email, that you've communicated with your people and the neighbors what's going on. Because if not, then you're gonna have a party, nobody's gonna show up, or it would just be your church people. So to me, that's been the thing that our people forget. I'm very hospitable. I'm very like, I know what it takes to get people to a house, and it takes usually a month, sometimes 3 weeks minimum if you're gonna throw like at least to get people the word out. Or sometimes it can work that week of. People usually don't have Cinco de Mayo plans or even 4th of July plans, are kind of like, it's not Christmas, right? So people are like, oh, that's a better deal. I'll do that. Or that's in my neighborhood. I'll try that. I've always wanted to meet them. I'll try that. So sometimes there's going to be failure. We've done parties and there's only been like 3 guests and it's mainly been our people, but that's still been a win because sometimes that planning wasn't as good as it should have been on those. We had it in the calendar, but the team didn't really plan. So that's a big thing. If you want to throw a good party, is just having a good plan. So I would say food, calendar, and then, calendar for your people, know what event, know what day you're going to choose, know what kind of party you're going to throw, and then getting the word out to your people and to the guests. Those are the 3 big practical things. And so, and then it's just don't have too many expectations. Just whoever comes, I usually get there before, like we have some people get there before. We usually start at 6 p.m. so people can get off work and stuff, 6 to 7:30, and we say hang out as long as you want, and then try to pray before, 10 minutes before. It doesn't have to be a big prayer before all the guests get there, and then just go for it, see what the Lord does. So
yeah, that's great. I think what you communicated is going to be really easily transferable to the Brighton and Howell, Livingston County context, because just like in Dallas, people's lives are busy. So I love what you said about planning in advance and being organized and communicating well. In a day where hospitality isn't everybody's skill like it used to be, and so we need to think intentionally, even within our own go groups, about communicating who's doing what, and being like, don't leave things off as, like, oh, they'll think of that and they'll take care of that. Like, work together wherever you're hosting to prep that place and be ready to be hospitable and rub shoulders with people in our neighborhoods who need to hear about Christ. So Israel, this has been really good. I think it's going to be a really practical tool for our people. The last thing I want to ask you is just thank you for giving us your time. We would love to be praying for you and for Redeemer Irving. What's just a couple ways that we can do that?
Yeah, we are kind of in a new season. We planted in a pandemic, so we were real smart. But the Lord provided, and we've been growing. We signed a lease, and so there's just some practical. We're doing some renovations, and we set that budget, which isn't very much, and so things are expensive. So we need like lighting, video, and then we need to do renovations. And so that's probably one of the biggest tensions right now is just making sure, yeah, that we're able to do some of the things we want to do. Just asking the Lord, like, Lord, show us where we need to do less and do more. Be creative. Once you set a budget, you got to be creative. And then also with that is praying for favor with some people we know and people I know that I can go to and say, hey, we have this project. It's $30,000. Could you help us with this project? And I have some friends that have said, as long as you have a project, we want to try to come and help you. And so I'm gonna try to step into some of those conversations and be a little more fundraising and stuff. So that's a big thing. And just for unity, that just an interesting season. We had a staff member leave and resign, and so that was hard. But it was also good. The churches kind of stepped up, but there's still like I think a little bit of we're settling into the new rhythms. And we've been preaching through Philippians, which is about gospel partnership and unity. And so just praying that continues. We've had unity. So we would like Union Church to pray for our unity, please. Sure. That would be an extra blessing. So yeah, those are some of the big things that we're praying through this season. So yeah, we're trying to do like a grand opening. It's almost like we've gotten to a phase where we have our strong core team and we're going to move our service time to 10. We have a meeting at 9, and this could be a big, just push for a little more growth and a little different season of establishment for our church. So
yeah. Well, Go Groups and Union Church folks, let's take time during your Go Group meeting to pray for Israel and to pray for Redeemer Irving and ask that the Lord would bless this whole process and bless his family. Israel, I'm grateful for you. Thankful that we can have partnership in the gospel from the north to the south. And we're rooting for you. I love you, man. Thank you.
Love you too, brother.